Warning, Paranoid Sisters podcast contains disturbing content, explicit language, and opinionated views. Listener discretion is advised.
This podcast talks about the victim's story and does not glorify any crimes. Hello, and welcome back to another chilling episode of the Paranoid Sisters podcast. I'm Sam.
And I'm Felicia.
And I'm Rachel.
Today we're diving into the twisted and tragic case of Kelsey Berreth, a young mother whose life was taken in the most horrifying way imaginable. This case is truly the stuff of nightmares. It's got manipulation, betrayal, and cold-blooded murder. We're going to break down every twisted detail, so if you're into true crime, you're in for a wild ride.
Kelsey Berreth was a 29-year-old pilot and a mother living in Woodland Park, Colorado. She was engaged to Patrick Frazee, the father of her child. But by late 2018, the relationship had hit a rocky patch, and they were in the midst of co-parenting their child. On December 2nd, 2018, Kelsey's mother, Cheryl, reported her missing after being unable to contact her daughter for a week. Patrick claimed that he last saw Kelsey on November 22nd when they met to exchange custody of their daughter. Surveillance footage showed Kelsey with the baby around noon that day, and later, footage captured Patrick with the child shortly afterward. But there was something off about Patrick's story from the start. On the day Kelsey was last seen, Patrick was spotted entering her residence around 1:30 p.m. He was seen again at 3:30 p.m. But what happened inside that house is something straight out of a horror movie.
Patrick had a dark plan. He executed it with chilling precision. The motive? Greed. Patrick was the beneficiary of Kelsey's life insurance policy, and he was struggling financially. He was in a dispute over an inheritance from his father's death and had defaulted on a $42,000 loan. He was also paying about $700 a month in child support, and he wanted full custody of their daughter. All of this culminated in a decision that would end Kelsey's life. The crime itself is gruesome. Patrick murdered Kelsey in her own home, likely in the living room. Blood was also found in the bathroom, on the base of the toilet, on the bathtub, a towel rack, door handle, and even on the ceiling. A bathrobe was also missing. It's likely that he moved her body from the living room to the bathtub after he murdered her.
According to Krystal Lee, a woman who would become a key figure in the case, Patrick described in detail how he killed Kelsey. He blindfolded her in the living room, pretending it was part of a game where she had to guess the scents of a different candle. But then he took a baseball bat and struck her from behind, hitting her at least 15 times. Krystal later found one of Kelsey's teeth in the house, a haunting reminder of the brutality of the attack. Krystal was tasked with cleaning up the scene. Blood was everywhere, on the curtains, pillows, baby toys, and more. She took these blood-soaked items and burned them at Patrick's residence. Using bleach and Windex, she scrubbed the walls, floors, ceiling, and anything else that had been stained by the attack. Yet she later told law enforcement that she could probably still find traces of blood on the fireplace, baseboards, and a baby gate that had been moved to the back room. After the murder, Patrick disposed of Kelsey's body in the most heartless way imaginable. He initially took her body to a ranch near Cripple Creek where he worked and stored it on top of a haystack in a black plastic tote with silver handles. Eventually, he brought it back to his residence where he burned it along with the bloody items in a trough. I mean, do we want to talk about this?
Okay, really quick. So Krystal, who is Krystal exactly?
Krystal was an ex or current partner of Patrick's. They for sure dated 2016 and into 2017. Krystal's ex-husband made a statement to the police. He thought they were likely involved, like having some kind of affair when she was married and when he was with Kelsey.
So at the time, they were probably together, and she was tasked with cleaning up the scene. And I mean, was this clearly after he killed her and she just was like, oh, I'm gonna go clean it up, and just was like, okay, this is fine. I'll do whatever you need, babe. Like, I'll clean up your ex-girlfriend's blood and
Yeah, I don't know.
They weren't married, were they?
No.
They just had the baby together.
Yeah, they were engaged at one point, but obviously that they broke it off before it went any further. Yeah.
First of all, for you to be like, as the next significant other, the partner, I'd be like, why are you so stressed? Like, leave it alone. Just go to court if we're fighting for custody. Like, leave it be.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not fucking cleaning up nobody's blood afterwards because you decided to do something dumb.
I wonder if it's because she was a nurse. Krystal was a nurse. So I wonder if he was asking her because she's more accustomed to being around blood and things like that rather than the average person. I don't know.
I would still, if she's a nurse, then she's fucking smart and knows that. Okay. Hell to the no. I mean,
like, he had been asking her, like, this is not new information to her, that when he called her and said that he had killed her and she had a mess to clean up, this was not like a surprise.
Oh wow.
So he was most likely like planning, right? Like, she had to know at some point, like, he was planning something. So she's just as much a part of it as he was. She just didn't have her hand on the bat when he killed her, pretty much.
Friends of Krystal's, two different people said that she told them that he had asked her to kill his ex-girlfriend. Once or twice in September, he said that she could poison her coffee, like invite her for coffee or make friends with her somehow and then poison her coffee. He also gave her a lead pipe at one point and wanted Krystal to attack her and like hit her over the head with the lead pipe. And she told...
Sorry, not only are you telling the girlfriend, hey, I'm gonna think about killing my ex-fiance, but I want you to do it. Oh, or can you give me some pointers? What?
I want you to do it and clean it up.
Yeah. And then she's like, oh, okay, it's fine.
Yeah, she took, when she went there to clean it up, she took stuff from the hospital that she worked at, like a suit to cover her clothing. She took shoe covers, gloves, like all of these things with her from the hospital to clean all of this blood that was everywhere. The physical evidence was damning. Blood was found in Kelsey's bathroom. There was also a bottle of bleach and a Swiffer with blood on it that was discovered at Patrick's house. And then there was a list that Patrick had made dated December 12th of people who could provide medical care for their child. Kelsey's name was noticeably absent from the list, a chilling indication that Patrick knew she was already dead. Krystal Lee wasn't just an innocent bystander in all of this. She was an old flame of Patrick's living in Idaho. She became deeply involved in the cover-up. She admitted to law enforcement to texting from Kelsey's phone at Patrick's request to throw them off. The phones were tracked traveling through Utah and Idaho after the murder, which was likely an attempt to lead investigators to an alternative suspect. Initially, Krystal gave false information to the FBI, claiming she was with Patrick on November 24th, despite call records proving otherwise. She even went as far as to ask a friend to lie about her whereabouts. The friend, Megan, noticed something suspicious after Krystal borrowed her car. A firearm that usually had 8 rounds in the magazine and none in the chamber was found with 1 round chambered and only 6 in the magazine when Megan went to check on it.
So again, we know, Krystal, she's trying to distance herself from everything that occurred, knowing it was going to happen, just not knowing exactly how it would take place.
On December 20th, Krystal finally agreed to cooperate with law enforcement. She revealed that Patrick had been contemplating Kelsey's murder for months. He even asked Krystal to carry out the murder herself, giving her a metal pipe and discussing the possibility of poisoning Kelsey. But when Patrick called her on November 22nd, telling her that there was a mess to clean up, she knew Kelsey was already dead. She arrived in Colorado on the 24th with bleach, gloves, a hairnet, shoe covers, and other cleaning supplies. That is sad. And for you to do it, instead of turning around and going to the police, you decided to buy all these items. After disposing of the body, Patrick made Krystal take Kelsey's gun back to Idaho with her, hoping to make it look like Kelsey had committed suicide. He also instructed her to send text messages from Kelsey's phone to Kelsey's family, employer, and to himself, furthering the illusion that Kelsey was still alive. Krystal testifies that she left traces of blood at the crime scene for investigators to find, almost as if she wanted to ensure Patrick was caught. I feel like that's a crock of shit. But she also shared one of the most heartbreaking details of all. Kelsey's last words, as Patrick recounted them to Krystal, were, "Please stop," after he was beating her with a freaking baseball bat aside her head. Okay. I mean, there's just so much like going on, I feel like. I mean, I know we kind of talked about it a little bit before, but how is this possible? First of all, I don't want my wife talking to no exes at all. Like, you don't need to. No, it's not necessary. You have something else. Move on. And if somebody texts you or call you, I know that they have a baby together, obviously, but like, if it's not about the baby, we don't need to be having a conversation. Like, that's it. So why didn't she go to the police the first time, second time, probably the third, fourth time that he told her that he wanted to kill her, or even asking her to kill her for him? Like, that's just crazy. Like, what the hell? Why?
Yeah.
What happened to girl code? Seriously.
There was zero. I mean, this guy was an ass to begin with, it sounds like. And if they were engaged at some point and then not engaged, Kelsey was probably smarter for it. Obviously, she knew there were some red flags there, and she was correct. But it's just really unfortunate that it ended up in his greed for him to murder her. So it's another one of those unfortunate and really sad
Endings.
Yeah, endings. But we're here to talk about Kelsey's, Kelsey, and, she was a beautiful person. I don't know. I think there's a Dateline or there's a couple episodes out there about this case, and she was just a very phenomenal woman, being a pilot and everything. So unfortunately, she just crossed paths with the wrong piece of shit, apparently.
But also, what I found weird is that she let him blindfold her to smell candles. Like, why?
Yes. Yeah. Let's talk about that. Go ahead, Rachel.
Why is your ex in your house with a bunch of scented candles telling you, like, let me blindfold you, and you guess what they are? Like, what is on Thanksgiving? Like, what? I don't like, what's going on here? It's weird.
I mean, who's telling that story though? Like, you know what I mean? Like, who's really saying, who's saying that that's what happened? I mean,
Krystal.
Who knows? Maybe he did just walk in, right? Just walked in and just bashed her over the head, and who knows? We don't really know if that's true or not.
That's true.
Because they had the baby, so they had to have some type of communication, and they had to see each other, So like, who's spinning the narrative on that one too? So I'm glad you brought that up, because I had a mental note to bring that up, and I was like, that sounds kind of fishy.
But also, the call records from his phone and from her phone showed that he had called her the day before at like 2:30 in the morning. Like, I wonder if they still had some kind of relationship or saw each other sometimes, because why are you calling at 2:00 in the morning? Like, I don't know. It seems weird.
Yeah. And how long was that phone call? Was it just like
a couple minutes? I think it was like 2 to 3 minutes. Like, was he drunk the night before and got lonely and wanted to talk to her? Or is it a booty call? Or I don't know.
We will never know.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. It all sounds really complicated, right?
Yeah.
So even while awaiting trial, Patrick was plotting more violence. He sent letters to another inmate in Teller County Jail, which is where Woodland Park, that's the county Woodland Park lies in, expressing his desire to kill Krystal and her relatives. So backing into it, this guy is just a piece of shit. Like, he doesn't care about anyone but himself. But in the end, justice was served. Hallelujah. Patrick Frazee was sentenced to life without parole plus 156 years. As for Krystal, she pled guilty to felony tampering with evidence. Initially, she was sentenced to 3 years in prison, but was later reduced to 18 months plus parole after higher courts ruled that her sentence had exceeded the maximum allowed by her plea agreement. That's a bunch of bullshit, I think.
I say two things here. I can see if you are being manipulated, if you're being lied to, if you're being abused, probably emotional, maybe physical, maybe money was an issue with both of them, and maybe, I don't know, maybe she got trapped and thinking this was the way, like, out for her. Like, I'm gonna do what he's asking, but I'm also going to, like, maybe she was thinking, I'm just gonna leave a few things of blood here and there so that way he can get caught. Maybe that is the truth. So that I'm twisting it and being devil's advocate here and seeing, like, maybe she was abused herself. Maybe she did have, some low self-esteem, some, just wasn't all there to understand what was really going on under his trap, his wing.
But she also drove from another state to do this. It's not like she lived with him and he was abusing her or he manipulated her, but she consciously grabbed all these things, like Rachel said, took it from her place of employment and drove to clean up this mess. Isn't that correct, Rachel?
Krystal drove through 2 states, not just one. Like, it wasn't like it was like an hour away. It was many hours. She drove all the way through Utah and into Idaho, like, on her way back. So this is not just, I don't know. I mean, she had how many hours to, like, turn around and be like, no, I don't want to take part in this. I don't want to be an accessory to murder. I don't want to clean up blood and guts all over the place. I don't know.
Yeah. And also, too, I mean, she's driving away from him to clean this up and then cleans it up. I guess she could have easily, instead of going to clean up the mess, she could have easily just went to the nearest police station and said, I'm going to turn him in instead. And this is what he wanted me to do.
Her friend, back in September, I believe it was, or October 22nd, I remember the date now. October 22nd, she told a friend of hers, Krystal did, that he had asked her to kill his ex-girlfriend. And the woman, who was a paralegal, told her to go to the police. Was like, you need to report this, that he's asking you to do this. Obviously, she did not. But she told another friend of hers as well that he had asked her to do this. So there's 2 different people, starting in September, that Krystal had mentioned this to. So, like, there was ample opportunity to...
Like, why tell your friends if you can't, and then not tell the police? Like, you can talk about it, clearly.
Yeah.
It's not like you can't have the conversation.
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't know, but I feel like as a paranoid sister, my friend came to me and was like, my boyfriend wants me to kill his ex-girlfriend. Like, I'm going to be like, okay, first of all, I'm going to get a recording of you on my phone, and then we're going to turn this in, because it's typically always going to end badly. Like, whether it's for you or somebody else, right? At that point, and not necessarily for her, but I mean, who knows, right? Like, we're paranoid. Like, we never know, like in this case, that something's going to happen.
If anybody told me they were planning on killing someone, I would not be on board with that. I wouldn't be like, okay, yeah, sure. I'll help you. Like, what?
Yeah. And also, the thing is, it's like, we didn't hit this yet, but he planned on probably killing her too, as he was getting notes passed in jail. And yeah. And I'm saying, like, so she thought she was in the clear by doing all this stuff. And really, it was about to come full circle on her too, if he wasn't in jail. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
girl, run.
It's like the cheating husband situation, right? Like, typically the cheating husband's telling his mistress, I'm going to leave my wife for you, right? And sometimes that happens. But I mean, we all know kind of stories of that where that's never going to happen. And just like this guy, like, he's only in it for himself. Like, he was killing her. When I say her, I mean Kelsey, for her life insurance, which, if you're not going to marry the guy, why would you have him on your life insurance? But who knows? He seems very manipulative. So I don't know the complication of their relationship. But Krystal in all her glory is like, okay, you know, we're going to do this and we're going to be together. And what happens after that? There's a before and after this happens.
Yeah.
So again, the case of Kelsey Berreth is a stark reminder of how dangerous domestic situations can become, which we've just kind of talked through. It's a story of manipulation. Yes, it was. Cruelty and the ultimate betrayal. One that Kelsey's loved ones will never fully recover from.
This
And that
story,
poor baby. You know what I mean? Yeah. Sorry, just to talk about really quick that the baby, like now the baby has no father and no mother.
Yeah.
So what are we doing?
Your dad killed your mom. The trauma that kid is going to grow up with, knowing that, like, I can't imagine. That's, I believe Kelsey's parents have full custody of the baby. And his parents apparently tried to fight them for custody and lost. And they gave the baby to her parents. But I think that they, like, there was something about they also tried to, like, cover this up for him, or he went to stay with them when he was supposed to be with the police or something like that. So the courts looked at that when they were doing the custody determination and gave the kid to
good for them, right? Like, because I always feel like I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about the criminals, right? Like the criminals not only victimize the victim and their family, but it's also their family's a victim unless they're hiding shit and trying to cover up for them, right? But at the end of the day, like the criminal's family is also a victim because they live with that legacy. Like BTK's daughter, right? Like she went on to, I think she wrote a book and she's been on multiple shows kind of talking about that. But like their family's a victim too. But also fuck them if they're trying to cover up a murder of an innocent woman, right? Like at the same time. So
also Krystal was a nurse. Like it's not like she was unintelligent. Like what were you thinking that you're like, I'll be on board with this? Like I don't know. Just and what was in it for Krystal? Like what did she get out of this? This story also highlights the importance of vigilance and speaking out when you see something wrong, for sure. If Krystal had come forward sooner, perhaps Kelsey's life could have been saved. But in the end, justice was served. Or wasn't. I mean, Krystal did get out earlier than what she was supposed to. I can't imagine if he was saying to her on several occasions that he wanted to murder his wife and even had plans of how to do it, or his girlfriend, all of these things. He was telling Krystal that she was abusive to their child, and that's why he needed her dead. And that was her being killed was the only way to stop the abuse finally. So maybe Krystal was thinking she was like, saving this child somehow.
A bad person.
Ugh,
poor thing. And I think that's probably why the judge, and I don't know if it went to jury or not, but was very laxed on the sentencing, because I think it was a lot.
Cleaned up a murder, though.
I know. It was a lot to do with the manipulation. I mean, I'm definitely not killing anybody, but if I did hear like someone, we all do it. Like if someone is being bad to their kids or whatever, we're going to talk shit. We're going to, look at that person a different way.
But you're going to call the authorities. You're not going to be like, oh, my boyfriend's, ex whoever is abusing their child. He's going to murder her and then I'm going to just mop it up. Like,
no, I mean, I get it. I get it. But I do think only 18 months is just it doesn't cut it. That's really probably only a year, if that, because good, time served or what is it? Good time. And if she does extra stuff.
Definitely.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Colorado's most heartbreaking cases. If you found this episode gripping, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review.
And as always, stay curious, stay safe, keep questioning everything, don't be manipulated, ask questions.
What the fuck is wrong with people?
Seriously.